シャンブルズ。
Hello everyone and welcome to the very first video of this channel. Originally I wanted to talk about a law deck list since I'm a main law player, but I was thinking, hey, since the pre-release is right around the corner, why not talk about this first? I do have a lot of experience and multiple hundred games behind my back, so I am not a noob in this game and I think I can help out a lot of people with some basic stuff about the pre-release. Without further ado, let's start. First I want to go through all the leaders, and I'm just gonna skip the leaders that I think are not relevant, because yeah, why talk about them? I'll just focus on the leaders that we actually have and that we can actually use. So for the first leader, I'm gonna talk about the starter deck Luffy. Like, he's pretty self-explanatory. It's a great card. He has 5 lives, 5k, and he can build a lot of pressure easily. Since his leader ability isn't just locked on character cards, you can use his leader ability in every situation. So even if you have no board, you can still use it to play something, boost him, and then swing with 6k at least. So it's a great leader, it's a simple leader, and it's definitely recommended to use him, or at least to consider him. Next, we have Eustace Captain Kidd. He's the other starter deck leader that I would recommend taking to the tournament, because he's quite similar to Luffy in that regard, that he's always live. He's pretty simple and everyone knows him because everyone had to face at least a couple of kids in OP01. And yeah, regardless of the game state, you can always at least swing twice with him every turn. And it's just a great general leader. He can build a lot of pressure, and in the late game he can wreck people alone, especially since we don't even have that many blockers. I think it's 10 or 11, so definitely a great card to consider, or like I said, at least to take with you and see if you can do something with it. Now we get away from the starter decks and talk about the leaders that you can get from boosters. So the first leader I want to talk about here is OP01 Zoro. OP01 Zoro is also a great card. You build your board, put one Dawn under him, and everything gets plus 1k. It's just a great generic effect. If you build some board, you can use even lower cards, like in terms of power, lower cards, and just swing and can build a lot of pressure. The downside to him is, though, unlike Eustace and Luffy, you can't really do much with his leader ability if he's alone. So if you don't have any board, or if your opponent keeps on destroying your board and controlling the board, you will have issues with him, so keep that in mind. Now, for the last OP01 leader, I do consider Law pretty much the only dual-colored leader from OP01 who has some merit to be played in the OP02 format. This, however, please take with a grain of salt, because it's not that easy to handle Law as a card itself. And second of all, it's really like if you get cards that that you can be used with Law, it's great, of course. But like I said, it's not that easy to build around him, and it's quite difficult to actually play him and get him to work. Now the thing is, the great thing about him, or about the pre-release format, is that you don't have that much removal, so it is rather easy to build board unless you are playing too aggro. The downside, however, is you only have 4 lives, and like I said before, there aren't that many blockers in the set, so it is a bit more difficult to protect your life. Also, the best cards in the set, or like the useful cards, are mostly either 4 cost or 6 cost or higher, which means you don't get the full advantage of his abilities since the only 5 costs that you have, or most 5 costs you have in the set, are vanillas and like the Hina blocker. So he can be useful, he can be played, but be careful about him if you want to take him. I would recommend taking him with you anyways, just in case you get like really godly draws and can use him. Now as for the other leaders, there isn't really anything in OP01 that I would recommend. And I'll just briefly go over the OP02 leaders since they're new and people don't know them, or maybe don't know them that well. So, and I'm just gonna talk quickly about why you should or shouldn't use them. Now, first of all, we have Edward Newgate, or Whitebeard, who is a powerhouse but does damage himself every turn. Now, before we continue, I just want to remind everyone that if you get specific cards, like almost every leader in the set is usable. The thing is, you have to get the leader, and out of your 65 other cards, you have to mostly draw the cards that are usable with that leader. So for instance, if you get like a huge amount of Whitebeard cards, then yes, of course, go ahead and play Whitebeard. If you get like 2 Odin super rares and 3 rabbit super rares and all that stuff, then yes, use Kinemon. This is of course usable. But under normal conditions, like considering you'll get 65 cards if you exclude one leader card, the chance of getting, like on average, you will get 1/5 of the cards in the color you need. So if we're talking Whitebeard, out of 65 cards, you'll get maybe, on average, you'll get 13 cards. That being said, out of these 13 cards, not even all the red cards are Whitebeard cards. So cards that are actually needed or useful with this leader, which we'll come to later, are about 6 cards. So if you get these 6 cards and maybe multiple times, then of course, like I said, go ahead and use him. But this video is not meant for people who have godly draws, because if you have a godly draws, then more or less you should win it with pretty ease. We're talking about having an average pull and building a deck around what you can do and not a hypothetical what you may be able to do. So yeah, Whitebeard, great leader for a constructed format, but he kills himself way too fast. Even with the extra life that he has and the 6k, unless you get really good draws, he's not recommended. Garp, same thing. Also keep in mind, every dual colored leader is dangerous to use because they have only 4 lives. And Garp's effect most of the time won't be useful because once again you would need a lot of black cards in order to make use of him and his ability, so not recommended at all. Then we have Kinemon, who would be a great card under normal conditions, but the problem is with Wano, you only have 4 cards in the whole set that are actually Wano cards that can benefit from his effect. These cards are Inugarashi, Nekomamushi, Oden, and Rabbit. Those are the only Wano cards that you can use with his effect, and getting them and getting a lot of them to actually be able to make the most out of his effect probably won't be happening. So once again, sadly he'll be most of the time just a vanilla leader and therefore not recommended. Then we go to Magellan, or Magellan as some people call him. Same thing. You can't really make much of his effect. Like his effect is once you return Dawn you get plus 1k. Great, but how often will you actually do the -1 effect? Once again, not recommended. Z or Zephyr, same as the others. It's a dual colored leader. His effect can be used, but you'll get -4 Dawn. The effect is not that great, and once again you're playing with 4 lives. Not recommended. Finally we have Smoker. Smoker, once again, same as Garp. You are, unless you get a lot of black cards, he won't be able to give you any real benefits. so also not recommended. Now we get to the two leaders that I skipped because I think they are actually usable in this format. Also depending of course on what you draw, but still very good leaders. If you can get them, if you get some decent cards, go ahead and play them. First of all, we have Emporio Ivankov. His effect is super generic, so at the end of your turn, if you have 0 cards in hand, you can draw 2. So basically what this leader allows you is you can go haywire with your cards, you can be very defensive, use all your counters, and if you use those counters, you'll be safe. And then at the end of your turn, you can draw cards. Like, you start your turn with 0 cards, draw a card, play that card, at the end of the turn you have 2 cards again that you can either save for your next turn in case you want to play them, or you can use them defensively and just, you know, keep your life. It's a great card and has some specific support that we'll get to later that really makes him a great leader. So if you can get him, if you get cards that can support him, I would recommend playing Ivankov. Now the other leader, and also one of the dual color leaders that I would recommend, is Sanji. Sanji, like every other dual color leader, does have the disadvantage of playing with 4 lives, but his effect is very good because you can basically get out huge strong vanillas and they cost you efficiently 2 Dawn less. Well, you have to have the maximum amount of Dawns needed to play these cards. Like, you can't just play a 6 cost if you have only max 4 Dawn. But it allows you to basically play more cards or to leave Dawn open for your counter cards if and when you get them. So Sanji, overall, great card. Like I said, if you have a lot of vanillas, and you should get a lot because this set does have a huge amount of vanillas, I would definitely recommend using Sanji as well. Next, I will go over some cards that are just downright recommended to always be used. Those are, first of all, the super rares, which are Edward Newgate, Ace, Oden, Nami, Ivankov, Luffy, Magellan, Kuzan, Sakazuki, or Borsalino, as well as the 2 secret rares. Now, like I said, I did refer to the 3 admirals in their English name, or in their first name rather, but yeah, regardless, let's go over them really quick. All of these super rares are great, and if you get them, use them. There's not a single bad super rare, but if anything, there are 3 that aren't that great, like Nami, who is a searcher, and the search will only be useful if you have some film crew cards in your deck. Keep in mind, however, that her effect doesn't specify a color, so her film search effect isn't only restricted to the green Straw Hats and Law, but also to some purple cards like Zephyr, and there was another one. But anyway, there are some cards. Keep in mind that all film cards are searchable, we'll get to them later. And yes, Nami's Searcher, it's great, she has 5k power for 3 cost, she doesn't have a counter, but still recommended to use. Ace is a similar case. While he doesn't get his full effect unless you play Whitebeard, he can still get -3 power, 3k power on 2 cards. So he's great for board control, and also has 7k, so he is a threat. So while he is not as good as other super rares, he's still recommended to use. Lastly, we have Magellan, who is probably in this format the worst super rare, but still a good super rare. So basically on play, he removes 1 Dawn from the opponent, as well as if he dies, he goes -2 for the opponent. It's a great card if you can get him early on, because first of all, you're disrupting the Dawn of your opponent, which is always great, and second of all, he can apply pressure. Like, let's say you went first, turn 3 you play Magellan, so turn 4 starts, your opponent has 5 Dawn because of the effect of Magellan, or Magellan, I don't know how to call him really. Um, and you can swing every turn with him. And your opponent now has two choices. He either removes him, which would mean that he gets a lot of setback in the tempo because they lose two more dawns, or they let him stay on the field, which means they'll have to take care of the pressure that he provides every turn. So once again, it's a great card, but of course not as great as the other super rare. Still, if you get any super rare, I do recommend playing them all. So now let's go through the better super rares, which are Whitebeard or Edward Newgate, who just boosts your leader till the start of your next turn for 2k, which is both offensively and defensively a great thing. He applies a lot of pressure with 10k, and he can KO smaller blockers or smaller cards on the field simply by attaching 2 dawns. Great card, always play him. Next we have Oden. Oden, also great pressure applier. He only costs 8, and if you play Kinemon, actively 6. And he has 8k and can swing 2 times per turn. So it's just an incredible pressure. Like, put 1 dawn on him, he has 9k. If your opponent wants to out combo, he has to use at least 3 cards, and he can swing twice. Or he can swing once and then stay active in order to not be targeted next turn. Amazing card. Play him at all costs. Then we have Ivankov, who's same as Ace, 7 cost 7k, but he can summon a second card if you play him. With him you can play... He does restrict it to blue Impel Dawn of course, but you still have cards like Crocodile, like the next super rare, which is the 6 cost Luffy. But you can also go for smaller cards like 3 cost or something. It's just that it has to be 6 cost or less. But yeah, amazing card. You can build a board with him and pressure the opponent. Then, the card we just talked about, Luffy. On play and when attacking, you can trash 2 cards and bounce one of your 4 costs or lower cards into the hand. And he gains double attack for the turn. Huge pressure. Double attack is always a huge pressure. He can remove a blocker, he can remove a threat, it's a great card. You go -2 in hand, but if you want to finish or if you want to go for real hard pressure, it's worth it, play this card. Finally we have Aokiji or Kuzan. He has 5k, is a 4 cost, draws you a card, and if you play the Black Engine on attacking, he does -4. But simply for the effect of drawing and having 5k, it's a great card. If you play Law, it's even greater because you can bounce him and then replay him to gain a lot of advantage with card draw. Great card, play him. Then we have Sakazuki, who is or Akainu, who is also a great card. 6 cost, 7k, so he has a better stat line than Ace and Ivankov. And on play, you can trash a card and KO up to 1 character with 5 cost or less. This is amazing because even if you don't play the Black Engine, 5 cost or less can remove like about 90% or 95% of all the cards in the set. So he's basically great removal, and since we are limited to cards, removal is always great to have. Play him, great card. Finally, for the last super rare, we have Borsalino or Kizaru, who is, in my opinion, probably one of the best cards overall in this set, because this card is a blocker, so blockers themselves are great. He has 1k counter, only costs 4, and in the opponent's turn he's a 6 cost. So it's a really, really strong blocker, definitely recommended to play. Now for the other 2 cards that are just no-brainers to play, one of them is Uta. Uta is an 8 cost, 8k, who with Dawn -2, so on play, you remove 2 Dawns from your Dawn deck, or put them back in your Dawn deck rather, and all your cards, including your leader, get +1k for the turn. So, or rather, till the start of your next turn. So, similar to Whitebeard, your leader is buffed, All of your characters are buffed, so they're harder to remove and can put up a lot more pressure. And she herself also has 8k, so start of the next turn, she'll also be there to apply a lot of pressure. Amazing card, she can be searched with Nami. She is a film card after all, so great card. Use her if you get her, if you're that lucky. Next is the Secret Rare Kuzan or Aokiji, who basically gives all your opponents -5 cost, and then KOs a character with a cost of 0. If you have black cards, you want to reconsider playing them if you have him. If you get him, because the -5 cost is on all turns and not just on play or something. So every time when it's your turn, all your black cards are active and the effects are active. So if you get him, do consider playing all cost relevant black cards that you have. Even if you don't have a lot of black cards, still play him just for on-play KOing a card with cost of 0, which is basically a 5 cost or less, and having 10k as a stat line is amazing. You want to play him, like there's no doubt in my mind that you should under any circumstance not play him. Next we have the blockers. For the blockers, I'll go through them as well, but they're very quick, so just bear with me for this 1 minute. First of all, we have the red card Blenheim. It's a 2 cost 3k blocker. Fine. Next we have Marco. Marco has a 1k counter, it's a 5k blocker, and once you get to 2 life or less, if he gets KO'd, and this is not once per turn, you may trash a Whitebeard card from your deck and replay him rested. So while he can only block once per turn, he's still a card that, just like his name, Marco the Phoenix, applies, just comes back again and again and again, as long as you have Whitebeard cards or Whitebeard Pirate cards to get rid of. Amazing card, play him, he's a blocker who can pretty much carry you through the game really long and really good. I would recommend 100% to play him. Next we have Nekomamushi or Cat Viper. 3 cost, 4k blocker. Nothing much to be said about that. It's a bit better in Luffy and Zoro because you can also use him aggressively without actually using Dawn. But even without those leaders, it's just a blocker. You can play him in Kinemon if you get a lot of those. Play him for cheaper costs, great card, play him. Then we have the rare 7 cost Luffy. It's a 7k blocker for 7, which is already a huge stat line, but then you also get the on-play effect that you can play a film or Straw Hat character with a cost of 4 or less. So you can get a a Brook, which can create like this huge special summon chain. You can get out a Zoro to apply more pressure, or you can also get like smaller cards like Nami to just get a search and to have her for next turn. Great card. Play him. I don't see a reason why not to play him. Then in blue we have Inazuma, who is a blocker for 5k, 4 cost, 1k counter. But once you have 1 card or less in hand, and let's be honest, since you're playing pre-release, you don't have that much search and draw to begin with, so you will get to that point, he becomes a 7k. And this is not just in your opponent's turn, so if you get rid of the cards in your hand, you can use him aggressively as well. Great, you can get him out with Ivankov, it's a great card, play him. Then we have Mr. Free. Mr. Free also can be played with Ivankov. He's a 4k, 4 cost 5k blocker, and at the end of the turn you may trash 1 card from your hand to get him to active. So you can use him offensively, get rid of a card you don't need, and then you still have a blocker. Great card, no reason to not play him. Then we have Domino, who's just a 2 cost, 2k, 1 counter blocker. Fine, why not play her? Mino Koala, which is better than you may think, because he's a 4 cost, 5k blocker, so he has a good stat line. Is a 1k counter, so he's not dead in hand. And on KO, if your leader has Impel Down type, you can add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. Now the thing is, you're thinking about Magellan and why would you play this? But you can also play this in Ivankov because this is one of the few cards that don't specify color. So you don't need a purple leader, you just need an Impel Down leader. So you can play him with Ivankov. If he dies early on, you get extra Dawn. So you get more tempo out of it. It's a blocker, so it's a great card in general. Definitely playable card. Then we have Don Quixote Rocinante or Corazon, who's just a 2k, 2 cost, 1 counter blocker. Play him, he's good. And last but definitely not least, we have Hina, who's a 5 cost 6k blocker. And on block, you can choose a character card with a cost of 6 or less from the opponent, and that card cannot attack. So, first of all, she's one of the cards that can be cheated out with Law's leader ability if you play Law. Second of all, it's an amazing blocker who can shut down basically 2 cards. So she blocks a card, if you counter for her she also survives the turn, and she stops another card from the opponent from attacking. Amazing card, no reason not to play here. Then we get to the last, in my opinion, must play cards. Or second to last, rather, category, which are the 2k blockers. Most of them don't really see much play out of being counters, sorry, not blockers, counters. But it's just such a good thing to have them, and they're like just so yeah, it's just because if you look at it, the pre-release will boil down to being a game of survival rather a game of aggression. So having a lot of counters, a lot of blockers will be the thing that will make you win at the end, rather than just having great cards to attack with. Sure, of course, playing around stuff, field control, all of those things are important, but the most basic thing is surviving, and that's why you should play all the 2k counters that you can get. Also, keep in mind, you need 40 out of 66 cards for your deck, so most cards will get in your deck even if they aren't that great, so I would definitely recommend playing every 2k counter that you can get. So first of all, we have Jozu, who, if you play Whitebeard, has Rush, if you have 2 life or less. Like I said, you probably won't be playing Whitebeard, and that's why his effect doesn't really have any use at all. But he's a 2k counter, he can be used offensively as well, but like I said, just keep it in hand in order to survive the turn. Then we have Makino, 1 cost, 0 power, and she can be tapped or rested in order to boost another 1 cost for 3k. Now this effect will be great once you're playing Constructed, but there are not that many, especially not great, 1 cost characters in the set. And also her effect is restricted to red characters, and there comes the whole issue with the pre-release format. A lot of cards are restricted to either color or type, and since you are very limited to what you can play, most color or type specific cards won't see any use. So yeah, she's for the most part also just a 2k counter, and this is fine. She can see a lot more value once again in Law, because you can use her effect, bounce her back to hand, and still have the 2k counter active, so it's a nice card to play in Law, but even without the leader, you just want to keep her around for 2k. Then we have Ace's number 2, which is Masked Use. He's a 2k 3k 2 cost, who with 2 Dawn on attacking removes a character with 2k or less. Now he's kinda like a worse off Robin. Once again, I wouldn't recommend playing him. If you want to use him, just use him for the 2k counter. Then we get Carrot, who is a better card than most other cards here, because she can actually be used for a lot of things. She's a 5 cost, 5k card, so she does have a good stat line, and at the end of your turn you can put 1 Dawn as active, which is quite amazing, because like I said before, you can keep your Dawn active, you'll get the you will play some counters, so you always have your counters ready or have 1 Dawn extra to play around with and then play your counters. But even if you don't want to use her, she has 2k counter, great card, no reason not to play her. Then we have Tony Chopper, or Chopper just for short, who, when attacking, if he has a Dawn, can rest a 2 cost or less from the opponent. Now you can get him out for free with cards like pretty much with those cards like Robin, Frankie, or 7 cost Luffy from green. But even if you play him, it's just a 2 cost and he can remove smaller blockers by resting them. So he can be used, but once again, his best use is as a 2k counter. Then we have Mr. 2, Bon Clay. Once again, he's a 5 cost, he can be played with Eva's effect, and if you put Dawn under him, you may trash a card from your hand and return 1 character with a cost of 2 or less to the bottom of the opponent's deck, or owner's deck rather, so you can do it for yourself as well, but there's no reason to do that. So you can use him offensively. The thing about him is you don't have to use the effect, so you can just be applying pressure with him every turn with 5k at least. You can use him to remove a blocker permanently, and you can also use him as a 2k counter. So once again, great card. Then we have Sadi. Sadi is a 3 cost 3k with 2k counter of course, and on play you can play a beast or jailer beast from your hand onto the field. The jailer beasts are the koala, the minotaur, and the sphinx. 2 out of those 3 cards are amazing for Ivankov, but all 3 are recommended to play. So if you have some jailer beasts, you can play her on the field to actually get her effect off. Once again, in law, you can play her to get cards out cheaper and then bounce her back to hand. But even if you don't have either of those 2 options, just for the 2Ks, she's worth to be played. Then we get to Shiki. Shiki, 2 cost, 3k, and he has a trigger, Dawn -1, play this card. This card's trigger effect will probably only be useful if you really need something on the board, like you really have an empty board and want to go for a game next turn. He's a bit better in Zoro because he gets the 1k push for free, but like I said, just for the 2k, play this card, great card. Then we get to the last 3 cards, which are all black. First of all, we have Sengoku the Buddha, who is a 2 cost 3k, and if he has Dawn and attacks, he can -2 cost a character. You will probably never use this effect, like I said, unless you have like a gajillion black cards, but let's be honest, you won't get that many black cards to begin with for most part, so he's just a 2k counter, which is fine. Then we have Tsuru, 1 cost 0k, who has a similar effect, but she's on play. So she's more quick or more active to use than Sengoku, but once again, you probably won't have that many black cards anyway, so just use her for 2k counter. And finally, Monkey D. Garb, the hero of the Navy, 2 cost 3k, and he can KO 1 0 cost character on attacking with 2 Dawns attached. So if you play him with like the Aokiji secret rare or some other black cards, he's great for removal, but he can be removed rather easily since he's only a 3k himself. So once again, he's probably most of the time only going to be used as a counter. So we've gone through a lot of cards now. Now there are some categories left, like 1.5. And the next cards I want to talk about are vanillas. First of all, I'm gonna talk about the vanillas that I think every deck should play. And then I'll talk about some specific cards that I would only recommend if you're either using Luffy or Zoro. It's really quick. It's basically every card, every vanilla. Like, I'm just gonna show you on the screen really quick, but it's basically every card that has a stat line that goes to at least 5k, and like I said, is a vanilla. Those vanillas, of course, are greater in some decks. Like I said, the Crocodile can be used with the Ivankov Super Rare. The Film Straw Hats can be special or extra summoned with cards like 7 cost Luffy, 4 cost Brook and stuff. Or yeah, or the Jailer Beast Sphinx can be summoned with I forgot her name already, Dominar thing or something like that. Regardless, he can be cheated out as well. But anyway, all the 5k plus vanillas are playable and you should definitely put them in your deck. Now we have some specific vanillas that you can play. But I would recommend them for the most part only for Zoro, Sanji, or Luffy. We have Jinbei, who can be specialed for free from Sanji, with Sanji as a leader, or basically for free. And he can also be special summoned on the field with cards like Robin, Brook, and Luffy. Otherwise, he's a vanilla 4k, not much to be said about. Mochi is a 1 cost 3k. Once again, you're most likely not going to play a 3k and then use 2 dons each turn to apply pressure. Also, he can be removed easily with an attack, so there's not much point to play these cards unless you have specific cards that work in tandem with them. Like I said, Zoro leader, Sanji leader, or Luffy leader. The Blue Gory do have a card in their set that can make them blockers, but this is such a finicky combo to use that you probably never, or maybe in 1 out of 5 matches, are ever going to see, if at all. Next, we get to, and this is not categorized anymore, but more of like the rest of the cards that we can actually now talk about in specific. First of all, we have from Red, Vista. Vista is a great card. He's kinda like the killers and stuff from OP01. Basically, you play him and you remove a card with 3k or less, which is great in itself. If you are at 10k and have an ace, you can use that to remove even stronger cards, but even if not, you can still remove smaller cards that the opponent has, like blockers and stuff. And it's removal in general, which is great, so play this. Now then we have Squad, who you will probably play because he is a 5k, but his effect most of the time you won't be using. And if you play him in Whitebeard, he can even hurt you more than he can help you, because you will have to, because the effect, if you have a Whitebeard leader, is mandatory. So unless you play the extra card, which forbids you from drawing life this turn, or if you play the super rare, but you can't play both of them at the same time, so it's pointless. So yeah, unless you have something that stops you from taking life, you won't. This effect will hurt you if you play Whitebeard. Other than that, like I said, he's basically a free cost 5k vanilla. Good card to play, why not? Then we have Whitey Bay. She's also a Whitebeard card, which is great. And if you put Dawn on her, you can attack active cards. So you can play her, you can put Dawn under her, attack blockers to remove them. You can use Makino to push her, to make her a bigger threat. It's a good card, you can play her definitely, but it's not that great. Then we have Rakujo, or Rakuyo, but probably Rakujo. he's similar, he's pretty much a small version of the Zoro leader, because if he has Dawn, all your Whitebeard card or Whitebeard Pirates card get plus 1000 power, so he's just applying even more pressure. So if you can get a lot of Whitebeard cards and him on the field, and play maybe even Zoro, then you have a lot of pressure every turn. Great card to play if you have a lot of Whitebeard cards. Even if you just have some, it's still great, because with that one Dawn, he's basically a 6k for free, and he has one counter. It's a great card to use. Then we have Inuarashi, or Dog Store, quite literal translation here, which is a free cost 4k, and if you don't have Dawn active, he can't be destroyed by effect. So it is a bit harder to remove him. For Zoro it's a great card, because once again it's a 5k and the opponent has to attack him in order to get rid of him. But yeah, he's more of like a filler card than anything else. Then we have the Robin, which is a free cost also 4k 1k counter, who on play can play a Straw Hat or film character with 2 cost or less. Once again, you can play the Jinbei for free, you can play the Law for free, who will then bounce. She will be 5k in Zoro and maybe Luffy. It's a playable card, but it's not that great. Then we have Brook, who is a lot better, because he's a 4 cost 5k with 1k counter, who has the same effect but only with 3 costs or less. So he can, like, there's this huge chain where you can play like Luffy, Luffy plays Brook, Brook plays Robin, and then Robin plays like Jinbei or Law. So you get, for 7 Dawn, you get like 4 cards out, which is quite amazing. Most of the time you probably won't get this chain, but even if you can get a smaller chain started with Robin, or even just to cheat out some characters like Nami, it's a good card. So you play Brook for 4, get Nami out for free, and yeah, for 4 cost you have essentially played 2 5ks, and one of them is even a Searcher. Great card to have, definitely recommended to play. Then once again, another great Wano, or another great card in general, is Yamato. 4 cost, 6k, and on play you can rest a character with cost 6 or less. If you have her on the field, there's one specific card that can interact with her, I'll talk about in a sec. But overall, Yamato is just a great card, because her stat line is amazing. She doesn't have a counter, but that's fine. And she can basically make one of the blockers non-existent for the turn, and also help you with board control and put a lot of pressure on the opponent. And she's also a Wano card, so she can be used with Kinemon if you play him. Then we have the green counter, free sword style Onigiri. It's a free cost counter that gives 6k, and you can play a free cost or less vanilla out from your hand. Like I said, you will play most of the vanillas that are 5 cost or 5k or higher. So you can play the 5k vanillas for free with this card. If you play stuff like Jinbei and stuff, you can play them as well. But it's a great counter overall, definitely recommended to play. Then we have the other Janbe. I'm not even gonna try a venison shot or something like that. Probably not the proper pronunciation, I'm sorry, I'm not French. But basically it's a removal for a 4 cost or less rested character. So you can play like Yamato, rest a card, then and yeah, it's not much else to say. Also it has a trigger effect which allows you to play a vanilla from your hand. Great card, recommended to use. Then you also have Paradise Totsuka, which is the attack from Oden, which just rests a character with 4 or less. It's great for field control, it's great to get around blockers, definitely recommended, and it even has a trigger effect that can KO a character with 3 cost or less. Then we have Don Quixote Don Flamingo. 1 cost 2k, sadly no counter, but on play you can he's basically a Perona that if you put a Dawn under, if he attacks, you can trash one card in your hand to place one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less in the bottom of their deck. Won't see much play since most of the second effect, since you won't get to remove that many cards because probably no one is going to play many or any one cost characters. He is, however, just great for the Perona effect alone, so yeah, you can definitely play this card. Then we have Boa Hancock, 4 cost 5k, 1k counter. She draws a card, then you trash a card, and on attacking, and then you can trash up to 3 cards. So if you're playing her in Ivankov, she's additional support. If not, just for the recycle effect alone, it's a great card. I don't see why you wouldn't play her. 5k, great card. Then you have Molly, who is a 4 cost 5k with 1k counter. And if you have 1 card or less in your hand, this card can't be blocked. So this card will, most of the time, if being used, will end games. Great card to use, definitely recommended to play. Then we get to the counter cards. First of all, we have Arabesque Brick Fist, which is just return 1 4 cost or less character to the owner's hand. So if you want to get like some specific on-play effects out, you can use it on your own cards as well. Also, as a trigger, it activates as main effect. But most of the time, you're just gonna use it as removal, which is great for a 2 cost. Then we have a 0 cost counter, which is Gum Gum Rain, which is you trash 1 card in order to have one of your characters gain 3k, or your leaders. So it's basically, you can get rid of a low counter or no counter card in your hand in order to make stuff survive. Great card, definitely recommended to play. And as a trigger, it can also bounce a 2 cost back to the owner's hand. Finally, we have Deathwing, which is also a counter card for 3 cost, gives 6k as well. And you may draw cards until you have 2 cards in your hand. And as a trigger, return 1 character for a cost of 7 or less to the owner's hand. The trigger is insane, and the counter itself is also great. Like 3 cost 6k is great, and then you can also draw. Like you can use, now let's say for instance the opponent swings with a white beard and gives 2 dawns under him, so he swings with 12k at your leader. So you can use like a 2k counter or multiple counters from your hand, and then use Deathwing in order to draw more cards. Great card, definitely recommended to use. Then we have Shiryu, 4k cost 5k with 1k counter. It's a Dawn -1. On play, you can remove a 1 cost. Most of the time, once again, you won't use it for the effect itself, but you can use the counter and you can apply pressure with 5k. So it is to fill some blanks in your deck, but yeah, it can be used as well. Then we have Daifugo, who on play goes Dawn -2 and can play a Smile character with cost of 3 or less from your hand. Now, there are only 2 cards in the whole set that can benefit from this effect, but even if you don't use the effect itself, he's just a 3 cost 5k, great stat line to use, why not? Then we get to Douglas Bullet, who is searchable with Nami because he is a film character and also can be played with the effect of Luffy. 6k, or no, he can't because Luffy is only 4 cost, but doesn't matter, still searchable with Nami. 5 cost, 6k, and Dawn -1, rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So once again, you can use it for field control, you can use it to rest a blocker and then destroy it. It's great stuff overall. 6k is strong, in Zoro it's even 7k, good card. Then we have Brindy World, which is an 8 cost, 8k card, and active main, you can remove 8 Dawn in order to give this card 792,000 power, pushing him to 800k power. This card is unstoppable for finishing games. Like, if the opponent doesn't have blockers, he's dead. You play this card, get him to 0 life, and if this card is on the field, he can just scoop because he knows he's gonna die. Then we get to Minotaur, who is a 4-cost 5k with 1k counter, who has double attack, and on KO, if your leader is an Impel Down type character, gives you 1 extra Dawn. Amazing card. He can be played out with the 3-cost 2k for free. He applies a lot of pressure early on, especially early on, because once again, if this card is on the field, like, your opponent has to either invest a lot of cards to stop it, and or has to remove it, but if he removes it, then you just get an additional Dawn if you're playing Ivankov. Great card. Double attack is a pretty big pressure and 5k, so if you put some Dawn on him, your opponents will hate this card. Great stuff to use. Then we have Hell's Judgment, which is a counter for 2 that gives 2 characters or leader and character minus 3k. Once again, great card because you can essentially shut down 2 attacks for this turn for a cost of 2 Dawn. Highly recommended to be used because it's a great defensive card, and if you get the trigger, if your opponent has 6 or more Dawn, you can return 1 Dawn to their Dawn deck. Can be useful in the mid game, but the best effect is of course the counter effect. Then we get to Hydra, which is main Dawn -1, give a character minus 3k. Great, it can be used with Vista to remove stronger cards. It can be used to just swing over something in order to kill it. Good card, use it. And it has the same trigger effect as Hell's Judgment, so definitely recommend it as well. Then we get to the only field card that I can recommend in the set for pre-release, and that is Impel Down. It says you may trash 1 card in your hand to rest the stage and look at the top 3 cards and reveal an Impel Down type card and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck. If you play the Ivankov leader, it can be used to get rid of cards that you wouldn't be able to get rid of otherwise, in order to get the leader effect. And if you get a lot of Impel Down cards, and don't forget, Impel Down are both blue and purple once again. This doesn't specify a color, so you can use it. So it is a good searcher because most blue and purple cards are Impel Down cards. So it is probably the best search engine that you will find in the pre-release format, and the only field card I would recommend, if you have of course enough cards to play around, the only field card I would recommend to be played. Then we get to the black cards, which is Izuka. She's a 3-cost 4k, and if you put Dawn on her and she KOs a character, she restands. So she's similar to Basil Hawkins from the starter deck. If you play her in Zoro, she will always be a 5k. If you play her in Luffy, she will never be an actual investment because you'll only be able to get the 1 Dawn extra. It's a great card for pressure. If your opponent is low on life, you swing on life, you can either decide to use a blocker, and he either has to decide to use 2 blockers, or he has to use hand cards in order to defend against this card. Great stuff. Great pressure. Then you have Onigumo. He's just a 5-cost 6k with 1 counter. The effect is he will get the banish effect if the opponent has a character with 0 cost, but like I said, for the other black cards, unless you get lucky and have a lot of black cards, you're not gonna use it. Then you have Kobe, who is a 3-cost 4k with 1k counter, and you may trash one card from your hand and KO a character with a cost of 3 or less. It's removal, you want to play removal, I would recommend using him. And with one Dawn or Luffy's effect or Zoro's effect, he's even a 5k, so great card. Then we have Strawberry, who can't be blocked if your opponent has a 0 cost character. Once again, he's most of the time just gonna be a 4 cost 5k vanilla. If you have the space or if you have a lot of black cards, use it, otherwise don't. Then we have Tashigi, who is the same but better, because she's a 3 cost 5k, and she reduces the cost of a character by -3, so on attacking with a Dawn. So it's a great card to use with black, if not it's still a 3 cost 5k vanilla. Then we get to the black counter, Yasakani Sacred Jewel, which is probably the best counter in the whole game, because you trash a card from your hand and one of your characters cannot be KO'd this battle, sorry. So even if it's Makino, you can protect one card regardless of what attacks it. Like, he can play Whitebeard and attack with Whitebeard, and you can just use this card, use a card from your hand, and your character is safe. It can be used as stage removal, but that's probably not gonna be happening in the pre-release. Then you have Meteor Volcano, which is a great card if you run at least some black engine, because it is a removal. So you can play like Tashigi, attack with Tashigi, and then use this card. But the best thing about it is actually the trigger, because you can draw 2 and then trash 1 card. It's an okay card. You can maybe use one if you have it, but it's not an amazing card. And now we get to the losers of this set, to the final cards pool that we have here, which are the cards that in my opinion are not recommended to be put in a deck unless really specific conditions are met. First of all, we have Curly Dadan, who is a searcher for 1 cost red characters. Like I said, most of the time you won't get many cards that this effect applies to, so she's a 2 cost 3k vanilla, not great. Then we have Dogura, who would be searchable with her effect, but like I said, not really useful. You may rest him to play a red character other than him with 1 cost. Once again, there is not much value to this, not recommended. Magra, similar to Makino, you play him, give 1 card plus 3k, 1 cost plus 3 red, 1 cost plus 3k. The effect will probably almost never happen, not recommended. Then we have the Whitebeard specific cards. I'm not even gonna go through their effects, because unless you get a lot of Whitebeard cards and the leader, you won't be playing these cards. One of them is a searcher for Whitebeard, 2 are Whitebeard leader only cards. Not great. And Moby Dick, sorry, of course as well. So, like I said, not recommended at all. Then we have Kosugi Toki, who is a 1 cost blocker, but only if you have an Oden character on the field. So unless you have Yamato, who is being treated as an Oden, or Oden himself out, she's nothing. She's just a 1 cost 0k vanilla. Not a good card. Like, you get 6 packs, and let's say on average 2 super rares. So even if you get for each pack a rare Yamato and 2 super rare Odens, you still have only 8 cards in your deck that have to be on the field to make her a blocker. And if the opponent removes that card with some effect or stuff, then she's not even dead. No, absolutely not recommended to be played at all. Then you have Shishilian, which is a 2 cost 3k, who on play with the cost, if you pay 2 Dawn, you can set one of your Mink type characters with 5 cost or less to active, which is basically for Rabbit, Carrot, sorry. But yeah, once again, not recommended. The effect is too specific, it costs too much, not recommended. Then we have Law from the film cast. If you play a lot of film characters, you can use him. He says when for 1 dawn you can bounce him back and play a free cost character. So if you get him out with like Robin, like if you have 8 dawn, you play like the whole Luffy chain, or if you have like 6 dawn and play the smaller chain with Brook, or with 4 dawn even, the even smaller chain with Robin, you play Robin and him. Then you can use the extra dawn that you have to bounce him to get a free cost out. It's okay, but once again, it's just as a if you don't have ways to cheat him out, why would you play him? Instead of paying 2 and then 1, so 3, in order to get a free cost out, you can just play a free cost. So unless you have some major ways to get him out, I wouldn't recommend playing him. Sorry, even though I love Law, it's just not something that's really feasible. Then we have Wanda, who on play for 2 cost 3k can put who can play a Minx type character other than Wanda from hand. So you can play like Inuarashi, you can play Neko Mamushi from your hand for free with her. But like once again, it's super specific. You probably won't get that many cards, so unless you really don't have anything else to put in the deck, I wouldn't put her in. Then we have the Flower Capital field card, which specifies you may trash one Wano card, which only if you count Toki like 5 cards or so in the whole set, to set 1 Dawn as active. We're really specific, and unless you get a lot of those Wano cards, you're not gonna use this, so no. Then we have Kabachi. If Moji is on the field, on play you can draw 2, discard 1. That's most of the time not gonna happen, not recommended. Kuma on play, look at the top 2 cards, and then get a Wallet of the Sea in the hand. There are like 3 or 4 of them in the whole set. The search will probably almost never hit unless you play Doflamingo first in order to look at the top cards, so not recommended. Then we have Buggy. Buggy, searcher for blue Impel Down cards, which makes it once again same as Dadan, really a bad searcher. If it wouldn't specify blue, it would be actually a good searcher because you would have purple and blue to play with, but since it only searches blue, I wouldn't play it. Then we have Mr. One does bonus, who also add 1 blue event with a cost of 1 from your trash to your hand. There's only one that you only play if you play Ivankov, that will get you in a second, not recommended. Here is the 1 cost, it's Impel Down All-Stars. If your leader is an Impel Down character, so it also is Magellan, sorry, but still if it is if you have an Impel Down character, you may trash 2 cards from your hand to draw 2 cards. Okay-ish card if you play Ivankov or Magellan, otherwise it's useless, don't play. Then we have the field card Newcomer Land. You may rest the stage. Your leader, and if your leader is Ivankov, draw 1 card and trash 1 card, and then trash up to 3 cards from your hand. If you have the Ivankov leader and are playing him, great card, otherwise unplayable. Literally. Then we have Saldev, who sorry, my mic just went out for a sec. Who turns all Blue Goril, which is the 3k vanilla, into blockers. How many of them are you actually gonna see? How many of them are you actually gonna play? It's not recommended. Then we have Hanyabar, who is pretty much the same as Buggy, but for purple Impel Down cards. Once again, unless you have a lot of purple Impel Down cards, not recommended. Then we have Venom Road, which just gives you an additional Dawn for free Dawn. You know, the pre-release is all about speed. This is too slow. You're not gonna play the ramp game. It's not gonna happen. You don't want to play Venom Road. Then we have Django. Django is once again paired with Full Body. So again, with these two pair cards. And he can be KO'd by battle if you have Full Body out. Full Body, when attacking, if you have Django in play, he gets plus 3k. Once again, far too specific to be actually played, not recommended. Then we have Smoker. Smoker, unless you're playing black, is also not recommended. I mean, he can't be KO'd by effect. And in Zoro, he'll actually be a 5k. So if you're playing Zoro, you can play him. But for all the others, his effect is once again paired with the cost of 0. Won't happen most of the time, not recommended. Then we have Belmare. You may rest this card to give one of your opponents -1 cost. Then your leader character gets +1000 this turn. Like, you can play her, but why would you? Like, instead of, unless you want to fill your board for some reason, you'd much rather just put the Dawn directly under your leader. Like I said, she's once again only really useful if you're playing a lot of black cards that use the whole minus cost synergy. Then we have Helmeppo, who also gives the character -2, and then gets +2 power if there's a 0 cost character. Once again, too specific. I mean, he has a trigger to play himself, but once again, it's too specific. You may use him in Zoro because of the trigger, but other than that, not recommended. Then we have the event card Ice Age, that gives one of your opponents -5k cost. I mean, a -5 cost. Once again, only black usable. And with that, we pretty much got to the end of the whole card list. I hope I could help you with a bit deeper, more complex look into the whole card set of OP02, and I hope I could help you with kinda understanding what's a good mindset when drafting, when putting a deck together, because a lot of those cards are really self-explanatory and far too specific to be used. Like I said, of course, if you get a certain synergy from your decks, you can definitely play it. Like I said, if you get a lot of blue Impel Down cards, of course, play the blue Impel Down Searcher and stuff like that. If you get a lot of those Whitebeard cards, of course, you can play the Whitebeard Leader, but most of the time, you won't. And it will just be a dead card in your hand or in your place that could cost you potentially the game. I hope you guys enjoyed this very first video of this channel. There will be a lot more videos to come in the future. I probably will upload pretty soon my finalized Law deck list that I sadly couldn't play in the Treasure Cup. But overall, thank you guys very much for watching. If you won or got into a high ranking in your local pre-release event thanks to this video, I would appreciate it if you come back and just tell me what helped you and how you got to first place, and it would just be great to hear how many people I could help with this. I hope at least to some degree you'll get more success out of this video. Thank you guys for watching and see you next time. Bye.